the knife that created time. Once, in a quiet village nestled between tall mountains and a deep, dark forest, there lived a young blacksmith named Elias. He was known for his skill in crafting the finest tools and weapons, but he was also a dreamer. While others in the village were content with their simple lives, Elias often wondered about the mysteries of the world, especially time. "Why does time move forward and never backward?" he would ask the elders. But they only shook their heads and told him to focus on his work. One evening, as Elias worked late in his forge, a strange traveler arrived at his door. The man was cloaked in shadows, his face hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. In his hands he carried a small rusted knife. "I have heard you are the finest blacksmith in these lands," the traveler said. "I need you to repair this blade. But be warned, it is no ordinary knife." Elias took the blade and examined it. Though it looked old and worn, he felt a strange energy humming beneath its surface. "What makes this knife so special?" he asked. The traveler leaned closer, his voice barely above a whisper. "This blade was forged from the first light of the stars. It does not cut flesh or wood, it cuts time itself." Elias did not know whether to believe him, but his curiosity burned brighter than the forge. He agreed to repair the knife, and the traveler left, promising to return in 3 nights. For days, Elias worked tirelessly. He melted rare metals, whispered ancient words over the blade, and polished it until it gleamed like a sliver of moonlight. As he worked, strange visions flashed before his eyes, scenes of the past and glimpses of futures that had not yet happened. On the 3rd night, the traveler returned. He took the knife, now restored to its former glory, and held it up to the stars. "You have done well," he said. "But now you must know the truth. This knife was never meant to be repaired. It was meant to be claimed by one worthy of its power." Before Elias could speak, the traveler pressed the knife into his hands. Time is not a river that flows in one direction. It is a tapestry woven from choices and moments. With this blade you can mend its threads, or unravel them entirely. Then, without another word, the traveler vanished into the night. Elias stood there, heart pounding. He knew the knife was dangerous, but he also knew he could not resist its call. That night, he made his first cut. With a single, careful motion, he sliced the air, and the world around him rippled like water. Suddenly, he was no longer in his forge. He stood in the village square, but it was different. The houses were newer, the people dressed in clothes from years past. He had traveled back in time. At first, Elias was thrilled. He watched his younger self playing in the fields, saw his mother alive again. But then he noticed something else. His younger self did not look happy. Without the struggles of his life, the boy had grown lazy and arrogant. Elias realized his mistake. By changing the past, he had changed the person he had become. Frightened, he made another cut and returned to his own time, only to find the village in ruins. War had come, and without his skills as a blacksmith, the people had been defenseless. Desperate, Elias tried again and again, each cut altering time in ways he could not predict. Some changes were small, a flower blooming a day earlier, a word spoken differently. Others were vast, kingdoms rising and falling in the blink of an eye. Finally, exhausted and filled with regret, Elias understood the truth. Time was not his to control. The knife was not a tool, it was a test. With a heavy heart, he made one final cut, not to change the past, but to undo every change he had ever made. The world shimmered, and when the light faded, he was back in his forge, the knife lying cold on the table. The traveler stood before him once more. "You have learned," the traveler said. "Time is not ours to command. It is a gift, and every moment is precious because it cannot be undone." Elias nodded. "Then take the knife. I do not want its power." The traveler smiled. "The knife was never mine to take. It was always yours, to remind you that the greatest power is not in changing time, but in cherishing it. And with that, the traveler was gone. Elias never spoke of the knife again. He returned to his work, shaping metal with steady hands and a grateful heart. But sometimes, on quiet nights when the stars shone bright, he would look at the old blade hanging above his forge and remember the lesson of the knife that created time. The end